Hello, everyone, and good afternoon to you all. So welcome to our fellowship event. So my name is Stefania Perrin. I am a fellow at the Capacity Building Subdivision in means of implementation at the UNFCCC. So it's a pleasure to see you here today with us. So on our agenda today, we'll be having opening remarks by the Secretariat, and then you'll get to know more about our personal journeys. And you'll also have a chance to ask us questions and provide comments on how you think the program can be improved to cater to the needs and gaps of SIDS and LDCs. So a little bit more about the program itself. So the Capacity Fellowship, it is a program developed between the UNFCCC and the Italian government. The aim is also to support innovative analytical work on climate change in the context of sustainable development, to promote a network of experts who can bring creative and innovative options to bear on questions of climate change, and also to encourage the leadership of potential young and promising professionals like us in our fields of work. So this is done by recruiting mid-career professionals from LDCs and SIDS to work with teams at the UNFCCC Secretariat for a period of 1 or 2 years. So through this hands-on experience, this initiative enables fellows both to contribute their expertise, to strengthen their leadership capabilities, and deepen their understanding of the global climate agenda. So upon completion of our fellowships, so we return back home to our country and to our home institutions. So to learn more about the program itself, I would like to invite you to watch this video where we, the fellows, so we provide more explanation. The video, please.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an
that I would use to describe the Capacity Fellowship program is transformative.
Empowering.
Partnership.
exciting.
Enriching.
So I initially applied to this fellowship because I consider climate change to be one of the pressing issues of our time. Coming from a small island developing state such as Antigua and Barbuda, I was intimately aware of some of these challenges, and I wanted to be a part of a team of people that are making a difference and making a change and actually tackling that issue.
When this fellowship opportunity came out, I thought it would be very good for my profession as well as to improve my capacity in the transparency area.
I am passionate about climate change. In fact, I lived my academic life and joined the Ministry of Environment in Ethiopia. When this fellowship was announced, I was very eager to be part of the global effort to fight the impacts of climate change.
This program is an opportunity for people like me coming from a very remote island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, because sometimes we don't have access to such opportunities.
My experience with the program so far has truly been invaluable, largely due to its hands-on and comprehensive nature. I've really been involved in every aspect of the CGE ETF support unit's mandate. I've been given the trust and confidence to carry out coordination support for key activities, particularly the regional hands-on trainings for developing countries across the globe.
I already feel empowered by the diverse experiences and expertise that I have gained through this Capacity Fellowship program.
My other experience working as a fellow in the UNFCCC is working with a lot of people from different corners of the globe. So work as a team, it's a very good experience.
My time at the UNFCCC has been incredibly valuable, and I believe that a lot of these transferable skills are things that I can take home with me. I'm looking forward to working with our Department of Environment when I get back in order to work on aligning just transition into a lot of our national policies.
I learned how intergovernmental process function, how to deliver efficiently even with a resource constraint, how to bring out policies by involving different stakeholders in a common platform.
It has been an all-encompassing experience, one that I have been actively learning from and one that has truly built my overall confidence as well as developed me as a professional.
After this fellowship, I'll be going back home with a lot of network, with knowledge about the UNFCCC process as well. So I think I'll be able to do my job a little better.
I've seen that awareness raising is lacking back home. So I would like to do personal videos to show concrete examples of things that are happening in my island, and also to do the explanation in our mother tongue.
I want to disseminate the knowledge that I have gained here through this fellowship program. I want to organize a workshop inviting 100 other young officials from different ministries who have the authority and mandate to support the climate actions in our country. I want to strengthen the collaboration between our governments and other entities to move forward our national climate plans.
So this is a little bit of a snapshot of what we've been doing and what we are planning to do back home. You'll be able to learn more in a little bit. So before that, I would like to invite David from the Secretariat to provide his opening remarks.
Thanks, Steph, and hello, everyone. Also from the Capacity Building Subdivision, who is managing the UNFCCC Capacity Fellowship Program, a warm welcome. And this is an initiative that was born from a partnership between the UNFCCC and the Italian government. And I feel like it represents more than just a professional development opportunity, and it embodies our commitment to ensuring diverse voices shape our global climate action. So today, and I'm sorry I'm going to be a bit biased in this speech because I've been working with one of our fellows very particularly. I have the pleasure of seeing our moderator Steph leading this session, and her journey exemplifies exactly why this fellowship is so vital. Steph came from us from a classroom in Mauritius where she was shaping young minds and future leaders. When she spotted the fellowship announcement on LinkedIn, I don't think she imagined that within months she would be in Bonn diving deep into negotiation text for the first global stock take. And now here she stands confidently managing ministerial events and coordinating constituted body activities and negotiations all by herself. Just earlier this week, Steph and I were discussing the unique perspectives fellows bring to our work, and I told her something I firmly believe. The language we need most in climate policy is not the diplomatic jargon. It's the authentic voice of those living the reality of climate change. Her experience as a teacher from a small island state, understanding firsthand the challenges faced by vulnerable communities, brings exactly the perspective we need in these halls. Looking around the room, I see the extraordinary talent our fellowship has attracted. Janice, Jevenik, Konisha, Milan, Moulinet, Sumit, Ulfat, and Yassa. Each of you brings unique expertise and perspective from your home countries. And we cannot forget Vanessa, who completed her fellowship this spring after a remarkable year with us. Each of you represents the best of what this program stands for, bridging the gap between global policy and local reality. What makes this fellowship truly transformative goes far beyond technical capacity building. It's about proving oneself in a competitive international environment, learning to navigate complex political landscapes, and most importantly, strengthening the confidence to stand up and be heard. This is a true power of the Capacity Fellowship. It brings together mid-career professionals from least developed countries and small island developing states, offering them not just technical experience within the UNFCCC Secretariat, but the opportunity to bring their crucial perspectives into global climate action. These fellows work alongside our teams for 1 to 2 years, contributing their expertise while strengthening their leadership capabilities. The fellowship serves 3 crucial purposes: supporting innovative analytical work on climate change in the context of sustainable development, building a network of creative experts tackling climate challenges, and nurturing the leadership potential of promising professionals in their fields. When our fellows return to their home countries and institutions, they take with them not just enhanced technical knowledge, but also the confidence and connections to drive meaningful climate action where it matters most. As we proceed with today's session, I invite all of you to engage actively in our discussions about the fellowship's future. The perspectives we hear today will shape how this program evolves to better serve the needs of vulnerable countries and communities. And thank you, and I hand back to Steph.
Thank you very much, David. Now I'm feeling like. Thank you for that. So now we are going to delve a little bit more and have a chat with my fellow fellows from the different LDCs and SIDS. And you'll learn more about their professional and personal journeys through our little chat. So I would like to invite Mulune, please. And also Olfat, Sumit, and Yasir. Okay, I'm gonna come with you guys. Oh, I forgot. Sorry, Janice, please.
With transitioning away from fossil fuels. We regret to see a combination of...
Yes. So thank you for taking the time off your busy schedule to be here with us today and to have a chat and to share a little bit more about your experience. So I would like to start with Olfat. So can you tell us more about your professional background and what have motivated you to join this fellowship?
From the Maldives. I used to work at the Special Envoy for Climate Change Office of the Maldives, and I was a negotiator before in Egypt following loss and damage. It got so stressful at one point, I thought maybe I still want to be in the negotiation process, but find a way to see from another point of view how I could still be in the process but not be too stressed. But I don't think this is any helpful moving to the Secretariat. So this fellowship has given me an opportunity to look at things objectively from a whole different perspective, and I have to remind myself every time to think, oh, you're not the Maldives and you're the Secretariat every time. So it's been a very interesting journey and very grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Olfat. And I would like also to have Yasir's perspective. So on the first question, so tell us more about your professional background and what motivated you to join the Secretariat.
Thank you, Stefania, for this question. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, all the invited guests here. So as you may already know that, my name is Yasir Rubel, and I come from LDC countries, which is from South Asia, that is from Bangladesh. And professionally, I have been working with different departments under different ministries for the last 6 years. More specifically in the implementation of different infrastructure projects. And my responsibility was there to integrate the climate resilience in planning and implementing, and also the monitoring and evaluation of all these project activities. So that was my professional background from Bangladesh. So coming to your question, what motivated me to apply for this fellowship program? So for answering this question, I would like to highlight 3 specific points that have motivated to apply for this fellowship program and have brought here for this fellowship. The first one is that the context of Bangladesh. You know that Bangladesh is a LDC, and geographically it located in a very critical areas with different kinds of disasters is happening there. And in terms of that, this kind of disasters, cyclone, floods, landslides, and numbers of disasters, and also the urban heat island as because of the highly populated country. But our government has taken a number of good initiatives in fighting this climate change. And more specifically, when I was working as a government counterpart to support the millions of Rohingya refugees, which we are hosting in our coastal city, Bangladesh, Cox's Bazar, which is also my hometown. And I was there, and I was very much sad to see the miserable conditions there. And we supported them with the support from the international communities. And it was more exacerbated by the climate conditions. On the other part of Bangladesh, there is extreme cyclone, extreme desert drought, and many other places. So in terms of that, Bangladesh government has taken a number of initiatives, but to move forward these initiatives, the government needs some young officials who are well conversant with the climate things, with the international collaborations, and also for partnerships with the climate international entities like GCF, JEF, CCC, and within the process. And based on this, we also have some capacity gaps to mobilize resources in specific projects and also programs that are specifically designed for the climate resilient countries. So these three things have motivated me to apply for this fellowship program. And that's all for this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yasia. And Janice, also, can we hear about your experience? So what motivated you and what were you doing back home before joining the Secretariat?
Sure, absolutely. Hello, everyone. I think that my answer is going to be a combination of what my colleagues have actually already said. I still remember when I saw the call for the fellowship. I was on my lunch break in my office, and there was this fellowship that popped up on LinkedIn. And I was like, oh, this is exactly in my interest area. My background at home is that I'm coming from the Attorney General's office in the Ministry of Legal Affairs in Antigua and Barbuda. So my background is actually law. But my focus area has always been trade law, looking at the environment, interested in trade facilitation, and also with a lot of focus on social policy. Here, I've been dealing with just transition. But just to give that bit of context, so why I say it's a bit of a combination is because if you come from a small island developing state, and I'm sure similarly an LDC, as Yasser would have mentioned, in the government system, there are quite a bit of capacity gaps, and you end up wearing quite a few hats. So Antigua and Barbuda has had a lot of political will recently in terms of trying to, as a developing country and as a country from the Caribbean, take the lead on a number of environmental matters. But as I mentioned, we have very few officials, and you're wearing many hats. And I thought that it was the perfect opportunity to sort of align myself, expand my skill set. We haven't had anyone necessarily following just transition, although we do have a lot of people in a number of other rooms. I thought that it would be a great way for me to, similar to what I said in the video, join the fight for climate change, but also expand my skill set, also to expand and meet other persons. And I'm really happy that I would have applied for this because I would have never met all of the brilliant persons I'm sitting next to today. So that's kind of some of the background.
I think we all have something similar. So it all started on LinkedIn. So let's move to our second question now. I would like to have Sumit on this one. So coming from a SIDS, can you tell us about your experiences at the Secretariat? And how do you think you're going to take the experience and the skills back home?
Thank you. And good day, everyone. Sumit Betancourt from Belize. So actually my experience, I think you guys have covered that as well. But coming from a small country like Belize, we've been really trying to enhance our processes nationally when it comes to not only climate reporting, but the systems, institutional arrangements to collect data, analyze on a more sustainable basis. So when I came to the Secretariat, the idea was to build and enhance our processes. And since I've got here as last February, that's exactly what we've been doing. So I've been engaged in the negotiating process, trying to understand the multilateral process on a deeper level, and also engaging with other developing countries because I form a part of the CGE ETF support unit within the Transparency Division. And our focus is supporting developing countries from all regions globally and trying to enhance their expertise, their capacity to meet the requirements of the Paris Agreement. So I've had the opportunity to engage with those experts. So while we may share similar national circumstances, I've had the opportunity to see how they have creative or innovative approaches to solve common issues that we have. For instance, the lack of human resources, financial resources, and how to address that. So that feeds directly into the efforts that we've been trying to enhance in Belize. So on one, and then my exposure in the negotiating process. This past June, I led an agenda item. I usually serve as a negotiator for Belize on Article 6, but this time I've had the opportunity to sit on the other side of the table to facilitate this process and it's much different than what I really anticipated. It's keyword, again, facilitating this process. You're no longer the one trying to push your own negotiating points for a region, but it's more to capture everyone's voice and to make it an inclusive process. And so I've had the opportunity to build on that. And again, on building our networks, the experts at the Secretariat, but also partnering with other organizations like the UNEP, the UNDP. So really, overall, this is what and being at the Secretariat, I've also simultaneously been able to continuously work with our colleagues in Belize. I mean, when I left, we were preparing our forest reference emission level under RED+. We were looking to start to prepare our biennial transparency report. So me being at the Secretariat allows us to sort of have that immediate support. And thankfully for the colleagues at the Secretariat, they're very open to do that. They see it as an opportunity to allow a developing country like Belize to meet the mandates of the Paris Agreement. So the benefits have been immediate. And I think the idea now is to continue this when we go back home and sort of enhance the system and the processes. So, yes.
Thank you very much, Sumit. Now, Molone, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience at the Secretariat, now this time coming from an LDC country?
Thank you, Stefania. My name is Molone from Ethiopia. So currently, I'm working in mitigation division, specifically market and non-market subdivision, and I'm responsible for issues related to stakeholder engagement. I'm also working on issues related to regulation, or drafting different regulation for Article 6 and also other constituted bodies. Am I audible? No, okay.
Louder, please.
Sorry, so I was saying I'm working in mitigation division, specifically market and non-market subdivision. And this subdivision, among others, basically work in drafting different regulatory documents, including standards, procedures for Article 6.4 mechanism currently. So I had the opportunity to engage in different regulatory documents for 6.4, in drafting standards for different activity cycle procedure, and also stakeholder engagement and so on. So I believe that this opportunity has given me to widen my knowledge in the skill as far as Article 6 is concerned. This is one of the most important area for our country, not only for our country, but also for LDC, because we don't have the capacity, like key negotiators moving our interests forward. And again, at national level, we are not that much beneficiary compared to other parts of the world. So I'm hoping that this opportunity will help me to contribute in a way I can change this thing moving forward. Specifically for my country, we are still at early stage when it comes to the implementation of Article 6. We don't have yet the legal framework. We don't have yet required institutional arrangements in order to delve directly into the implementation of Article 6. So I'm hoping that what I have learned here will be very crucial in terms of, driving the overall process of implementing Article 6, not only for my country, but also LDC. In fact, one of the main reasons why I applied for this fellowship has to do with the question of equitable share of carbon market outcomes. As I said, like LDCs and SIDS are not that much beneficiary, and this is when you see the statistics, like the number of projects or program activities in LDC countries or SIDS are very minimal compared to other parts of the world. So I'm hoping to play my own fair share in terms of changing this trade under the new mechanism, which is Article 6 of the Paris Agreement.
Thank you very much, Molone. So we all know that you've always been super busy at your division, so thank you. And now I would like to talk a little bit about our post-fellowship plan. So some of you've touched already on that subject, but most of us, we are wrapping up our fellowship at the beginning of next year. So we are going back home. Some of us after 2 amazing years at the Secretariat, and some after 1 year at the Secretariat. So I would like you guys to talk a little bit more about your post-fellowship plans and what expected contributions you're taking or you would like to take back home. Janice, I see that you have a mic already.
don't know how you saw that. Great eyesight, actually.
But teacher experience.
In terms of returning back home, I think as I mentioned initially, what I've been following here is just transition. Antigua and Barbuda is one of only 12 countries, actually, that has a dedicated chapter on just transition in its NDC, which is great. But there is still room for more of our national policies to have references and to be a bit more aligned. We have a national gender policy. We also have a national youth policy. And so when I return home, some of my background is also in legal drafting and in policy. And as I mentioned, we will all be returning to our parent ministries. And so one of the plans that I have is to work with our drafting department to assist in aligning a lot more of our policies and to ensure that they have just transition references, but also they outline more just transition strategies. There's also room, as I mentioned, for somebody to be following just transition a bit more closely. And so it is likely, as I mentioned, sometimes we have to wear many hats. I might be returning to the process as a negotiator. We'll see. So those are some of the plans. In terms of a broader project, I will be working with our Department of Environment when I return home as well. We have a number of legal officers at home, but in terms of specific capacity, it's not always there, and so it is very likely that I will be assisting them legally.
Thank you, Janice. So, Ulfat now?
I think I wrap up in April, so I go back to the Special Envoy for Climate Change office. So what we do is how we split the negotiation between the Ministry of Environment and the Envoy office. And I was following loss and damage then, so I hope to return to Brazil, and I don't know if it's loss and damage, but hope to be a negotiator. And nationally, we are drafting a NAP, so I'll be contributing towards that, I hope. So that's the plan for now.
Thank you. And Yasia now, because you're going home soon. So tell us about your plans.
You're pushing me to go. Yeah. So thank you, Janice. Thank you for this floor. So for answering this question, I would also like to go back to my 3 points that what motivated me to apply for this fellowship program. So luckily, I chose the technology subdivision to be continued as a fellow, and my amazing supervisor is sitting here, who has been as a great support not only in the professional development, but also for the uptake and transfer for the climate technologies to the different parts of the world, for the betterment of the climate action global. So I have been assigned as a fellow with the Technology Executive Committee, which is provided by Secretary of the Technology Subdivision. And as you know, that party established the technology mechanism back in 2010 at COP16 in Cancun. And the technology mechanism has 2 components or 2 arms. The policy arm is the Technology Executive Committee, and we have another implementing arm, which is called the Climate Technology Center Network, which is hosted by the UNEP. So in the IPCC and also the Global Stocktake and all other, including the Paris Agreement, so we have mandate to support both the convention and the Paris Agreement. In developing, transferring, and innovating, and also the infusing the climate technologies to different countries, especially the LDC and SIDS countries, so that they can move forward their climate actions. So I'm lucky to be with this team who has been supporting these technology initiatives in different countries. So my plan is that going back home, because technology is very crucial for all kinds of climate actions, starting from climate resilient development to the early warning system for disaster risk reduction, and everywhere technology is the cross-cutting. So without technology, we even think of mobilizing finance, because for mobilizing finance, we need to have a vehicle. So the vehicle is the technology, because if you don't have the technology, proper technology, then where will you put the finance? And if the technology is not sustainable and not the proper and not the clean, and there is also something like greenwashing or something like that. So that's why technology that is climate technology, is very crucial for all the development planning, especially for the LDCs and SIDS countries. So going back to my planning that, so as because I have been working with the infrastructure development and other things, so here I work with artificial intelligence for climate action, so I can support my countries in how to integrate the artificial intelligence in better Earth observation and climate information services. Because IPCC said that there is huge data gaps in terms of climate data and other things. So I can at least advocate my government to implement this kind of artificial intelligence into integrating the climate technology. And the second thing is that I also supported the NDC and technology and also the technology components in the LT labs. So that's why I had the chance to prepare synthesis report as the technology part for NDC, LT labs, and also the BR biennial report, and also support the global stocktake for the technology components. So now I know what technologies are there for supporting countries in moving forward our climate actions. So I can transfer these technology examples and good practices from different countries, which is already contributing in moving forward the climate actions. And thirdly, working with the Secretariat, with the technology team, I have come up with many international support organizations, for example, the technology mechanism components like TEC and CTCN, and also the entities of the financial mechanisms and also other developing partners. So I can also try to connect my government with these entities to enhance the support and cooperation and partnerships in terms of South-South cooperation, or even could be the triangular cooperation we can profit in this act. And as I already stated in the video that more specifically, I want to organize as workshops inviting 100 other young officials, because youth are the power for the future. So that's why I can invite the 100 officials from different ministries who have the mandate and the capacity to work for the climate actions, and who can also be future negotiators in the room, so that we can move forward together in the multilateral process. So these are my specific planning so far, and I will continue discussing with my supervisor how I can better implement my knowledge, my experiences that I gained here for the betterment of Bangladesh as well as for the global community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yassir. So maybe to be quick and to wrap up the session, Mulune and Sumit, you've already touched a little bit on your post-fellowship plans. So maybe tell us a little bit more about your expected contribution in your institution back home.
Thank you, Stephanie, again. So I might be repeating myself.
A little bit, not much.
So I am thinking of 2 tracks. So the first track is not only Ethiopia, but also taking into account LDC's special circumstance. I plan to push for further consideration of LDCs under the current requirement of the Article 6. So I might be working with LDC chair or other concerned stakeholders to make sure that we will have extra consideration of our national circumstance, so that we will get equitable share of benefits from the carbon market under Article 6. So that's my first idea. Apart from that, I have also the idea of supporting those countries, LDCs, including Ethiopia, from capacity point of view, building the capacity, because normally Article 6 is very complex. It requires understanding the nuances, like the details are very difficult to grasp. So maybe design capacity building program and provide, in collaboration with relevant stakeholder, again, different trainings. So these are my 2 ideas.
Thank you, Mulune. Sumit?
Thank you. So I'm a part of the Ministry of Sustainable Development and Climate Change, particularly the measurement, reporting, and verification program. And I'd actually just like to acknowledge my director, who's in the audience, Edgar Correa. So the idea, like I mentioned, initially the focus is on enhancing our national capacity. And over the past several years, Belize has been quite focused on transitioning away on depending on foreign consultancies. So what we're doing now is trying to build our existing national officers so that we can establish a more sustainable system. So that's one. But in terms of enhancing our work at the MRV program, and I think as Yassir mentioned, having the networks of these professionals, you can ask Mulene how many times I've bothered him about this Article 6 thing. So Belize is also working on our national climate change legislation. so the Climate Change and Carbon Markets Bill, and I form a part of the expert committee. And one of the things that we've been focusing on is ensuring that the principles of the Paris Agreement are enshrined within that legislation to ensure that that in itself is also sustainable, because that's essentially where the globe is moving towards. So these are some of the areas, and again, one of my focus at the Secretariat has been stakeholder engagement across the regions, and I think that's an area where we lack in Belize, sort of engaging stakeholders and giving them the ownership that climate action is really for all of us, and there's economic benefits as well as community benefits in this. So this is some of the areas that we want to expand and grow a bit. So.
Thank you very much, Sumit. So I would like to thank you all for taking the time off your busy schedule and for being with us today. So I hope that from the experience that my fellow fellows have shared, you have a notion of what we've been doing at the Secretariat and about what the fellows will be taking back home. So once again, thank you, everyone. So I would like now to move to the next session, and I would like to invite Konisha and her supervisor, Luisa. So we are going to have a chat where Konisha and Luisa, they are going to tell us about their experience as a fellow and about supervising Konisha. So maybe take the mics. Okay, so we'll start with Konisha. So can you tell us a little bit more about how your experience with under Luisa's mentorship is, and what are you learning from that experience?
So first of all, I would like to thank my supervisor for her support, for being here, and before coming back to your question, actually, the one thing that I would like to take back home with me would be the knowledge of learning how to work under a good leadership and what teamwork is actually about. Because whenever all my colleagues ask me, like, how has work been within the Secretariat, I'm always like very proud to keep on mentioning the team I'm working with, actually the legal affairs team, and under Luisa's supervision. And I keep mentioning that this team has really taught me a lot about teamwork and what it's like to have each other's back and support. So it has been a great experience so far. And aside from that, with Luisa, I have been working on compliance, so specifically the PIKE. Well, I won't be using jargon. It's the Paris Agreement Implementation and Compliance Committee. And back home, I already have a background in compliance. And working with her here has taught me a lot about compliance. And I have also been able to gain insight what it's like for when countries are not complying with deadlines and all, and what's the impact on the Secretariat and all the works that that's happening behind the scene. So this is something that I will also take back to my country, because well, for ourselves back home, it's been quite a bit of a, I would say, difficulty in complying, I would say, because of the capacity shortage that we have. And Stefania and I, we both come from the same island, and we are very aware of the issues that we are facing back home. And working within the legal affairs team, and more specifically in compliance matters, now I get a better insight of what it's like to not comply behind the scene from the Secretariat's perspective. So that would be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Konisha. Now, Luisa, can you tell us a little bit more, how has it been working with Konisha, and how has she contributed to the work of your division?
Well, let me summarize. It has been it's been a pleasure. Konisha is a part of the team. It's an asset, and she every day brings to the team his knowledge and his ideas. And let me tell you an anecdote. And I remember the first day when Konisha came to the team, and I say, very nice to meet you, Konisha. I'm very familiar with the fellowship programs. Compliance is in 2 weeks. You will be supporting the team. And the 1 hour later say, these are the speaking notes. Please refine the speaking notes. Prepare these for the co-chairs. And then in a day, let's see how we can do together. After 1 day, the speaking notes were perfect. And this showed me that Konisha has a lot of knowledge, that he worked very hard to produce or to deliver what is needed. And when he needs guidance, he's part of the team and consult the different members of the team. She's been always available, always willing to explore new areas, because she has worked also in human rights and climate change. And she's a person, she's there for 1 year, less than a year, but I'm really impressed the way this learning curve for her has been. So it's has been a real learning experience for the two, because now that I'm seeing the video, and it's a personal journey, but it's also a journey for the managers, for the team that receives the fellows, because it's a two-way learning experience, not only for them, but also for us, because of the expertise, the capacity, the energy, the new ideas, the fresh eyes that they bring to the team, at least in legal affairs.
So jumping on that, so how do you think, what's the value of a fellowship? How does it bring the capacity not only to the fellows, but also to the secretariat?
I could say new ideas. I could say a new way of thinking, a fresh mind. Because sometimes we are in a little corner doing our job that is being delivered or done like that for so many years, and then a fellow may say, but why not to explore another way of doing things? And this is really, at least from my perspective, one of the values of the programs, a new mindset. And this is really welcome and appreciated.
That's true. And also, as mentioned, most of us will be returning back home soon. So what advice would you like to give us, the fellows, to transition back to our home institutions?
I think to bring home what you have learned. Try to be the ambassadors of UNFCCC and explain that it's not only 2 weeks of intense negotiations. This is a process that requires also capacity building at country level, and that you are prepared and ready for that.
Thank you very much, Luisa. So now, Konisha, do you have one last word to say before we switch to the next session? Based on your experience and what you've been learning.
Okay, if I have to base it on my experience and what I've been learning, I gained lots of insight from all the people I've been meeting in this process. And I realized that back home, what has been missing most has been a lacuna in our national laws. And since you've been asking this question to all the other fellows, what are we looking forward to when we are going back home? For me personally, it would be something, well, not something, all the things that I've learned from here, from this fellowship program, of course. It would also be the new innovative and different perspective in terms of laws, what other countries, and specifically the SIDS and LDCs, what they have been doing at their level to fight climate change. And since I have an intention working with the policy unit back home at national level, I'm looking forward to revamping the laws that is already there back home and that are missing to fight climate change, of course, and also to shape the future into sustainable development. Because coming back here, seeing what all the other countries are doing, I realize what's missing back home. And this is all that I'm trying to grasp as much as I can from all the other people I've been meeting. And of course, networking is very, very important in this field. So I'm trying to gather as much information as possible, meeting people and asking what have your countries been doing at your level. And I've been taking notes so that when I go back home, working with the National Policy Unit, we can hopefully implement these things. And of course, it will take time because it requires lots of resources. But amongst these resources that we will need back home, capacity building is one of them that we needed most. And when I'm going back home, it's not just me, it's also you, because I know that you'll be waiting there for me. And I'm looking forward to work together with you so that we can change lots of things in our countries. Yeah.
Yeah, we have plans already, right? Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, Riza, for taking the time to be with us today, and also thank you, Konisha. So now we are going to move to a more interactive session. Jevanik? So Jevanik, my colleague from St. Lucia, is going to lead this session. So what we want you to do is we are going to have a Menti session. You will have some questions, of course, to answer. And also based on what you've heard from the experience of the different fellows who have been sharing their experiences, we want you to share with us how we're going to open the audience to you, and we want you to share what do you think about the fellowship and what do you think can be done to improve the fellowship so that individuals, young professionals coming from SIDS and LDCs can better tackle climate action.
All right. I think first things first, you can scan the QR code on the right, left. You also have the code to join the Menti. Of course, I know it's the penultimate day of COP29, well, hopefully. So feel free to share your thoughts on this. Of course, like I mentioned, the Capacity Fellowship is about addressing gaps, needs between countries. So it's very important that we can also hear your thoughts on this, and also to provide opportunities for perhaps young people who are in this audience here today, or young professionals, an opportunity for you to also benefit from the fellowship, as your input is key if we are to sort of continue, to grow the fellowship. So I think it should be fine. So I see finance, and then we'll have a quick discussion in terms of the various gaps shared and so on. So finance, technical expertise, technology, resource mobilization. And I think some of these are actually quite similar to what some of my colleagues would have mentioned within the interventions. Institutional arrangement, ESG, definitely much information. That's so true. In terms of technical knowledge, human resource. Okay, perfect. So whilst we're getting there, perhaps I can open the floor to anyone who perhaps want to share, particularly, because you also have different countries, but also from your different organizations which you may be working with. Perhaps gaps you've identified within your work. So feel free, and we'll have a mic going around to share in terms of, one, more details of these issues, but also how do you see the fellowship can contribute to help addressing these gaps. Sounds clear? So, any hands? Fellows are also open to share, and as well as the wider audience. Now, I used to be a teacher back in the day, Steph, so I may end up with some teachers. Yeah, I saw a hand. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So my name is Malango Kaira. I come from a developing country called Malawi, and I'm glad to be in this space. So one of the gaps that my country is facing currently is the youth, is it youth empowerment structure? Yeah, so every year we have a program called government internship, but because the population is growing and we have so many graduates, but there are no opportunities for jobs. So when there's this opportunity for the government internship, when young people have been placed in the MDAs, the ministries, departments and agencies, they're just there sitting. They do not work because there is nothing to do. There is no work. If there is work, it means we have the private sector coming in to provide some workshops and some activities. But if it isn't for this, the private sector, it means young people, they're not being capacitated because there's nothing to do. So youth empowerment structure is one of the gaps, and the technical capacity mindset is also one of the gaps that my country is currently facing. Thank you.
Sounds good, perfect. And definitely it's about empowering youth. And in fact, during this COP, I've been saying that empowering youth they can actually lead within the spaces. And we've been seeing through the fellowship how our fellows are talking about how they're leading various tracks within the various divisions. So that's definitely key. Any other hands? I know we have secretariat colleagues here as well. We have from NGOs. I know some faces as well. So feel free to share in terms of just your views in terms of any of the gaps and perhaps how you see the fellowship addressing. Janice?
I'll hop in just to keep the ball rolling as people think of what else they might want to contribute. I see something that was reflected frequently and something that I had also submitted, which is the human resource constraint. And I think in addition to the lack of technical expertise. And the reason I'm going to comment on that is because something that SIDS face, or at least Caribbean SIDS, is that we have very small populations. So where I'm from, it's 100,000 people. That is my entire population. That is a very small village to some of you, but that is the whole of Antigua and Barbuda's population. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because although we have very educated people, we have people who are able to deliver, the technical expertise tends to be concentrated, and you have very few people who, in comparison to, let's say, larger delegations, they're able to support a lot more people coming to these meetings. They're able to have presence in all of the rooms, and their ideas and their wants and needs can be reflected adequately because of that. We are a bit more constrained financially, and just the people. One person might have all the knowledge, but they cannot be in 5 rooms at the same time. And so that's why something that Yasser mentioned, which would have been when he goes back, training other government officials and training other young people who have an interest, I think that that's very important. The whole each one, teach one thing, especially when you're coming from a small island developing state or an LDC. I think it's very important to spread that knowledge, to sort of generate interest. I think a lot of people, even on a personal level, they're like, well, why are you there? What are you doing? How is this actually going to benefit Antigua? Because, I mean, we're in a bit of a bubble sometimes where we see the climate issues and we see a path forward, but to the average person on the street, they don't really understand what's going on or why it's important, why it's something that they should be why it's something that they should be interested in, or even other lawyers, why it's a field that they should pursue. It's not necessarily an avenue that they see has a lot of impact or that may hold a lot of interest to them. And I think that that's generating that sort of interest is something that would be very important, and training other people is something that I think is important in our countries.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned something about wearing sort of 5 hats, many multiple hats. And I think one of the added value of the fellowship is that you're not only constrained to your division, but in fact, you get a secretariat-wide experience. I can often say from my experience joining the ACE team, I thought I was strictly working on ACE, but I got to interact with so many different divisions, and that sort of brings that holistic learning that when you go back, you get that broader understanding of the secretariat. Now, I know one thing I learned while living in Germany is time is essential, so I'm going to be a bit mindful and perhaps get a couple of hands quickly. Yes, right here.
Yeah, I'm from Ghana, and with my experience, I'm with the Central Bank of Ghana, and what I see mostly is inadequate coordinated actions and shared experiences. You would have it across multi-government sectors. That is to say, you could have all the ambitions, you could create all targets, but if you are not bringing the financial sector to have a role to play, and if they don't understand what the science of climate change and the actions thereof, it will be very difficult for them to create products that will lead to the attainment of those targets. So I think basically it's the issue of coordinated actions and shared experiences. That's the challenge that we do have. Thank you.
Definitely. I think that's perhaps one of the key skills which fellows maybe we've also picked up during our time at the Secretariat in being able to coordinate action, because we know many of our governments, there is that challenge in terms of how do you coordinate action, for example, whether it is Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Education, and how these are all in sync. But I think perhaps we have sort of homework based on our learnings at the Secretariat within this fellowship to take back these sort of coordination skills and help in our country in that space. I saw a hand to my left.
Yeah,
yep.
Thank you. I'm from Liberia. I'm from the University of Liberia most specifically, and I think the capacity gap and needs faced by my country is broadly related to limited capacity. So, wards we have capacity in Liberia. I still think that there's still a need to build more capacity so that the professionals are more specialized to address the climate actions locally. And then also, I think the capacity gap and need is also related to limited information related to how the opportunities for capacity development can be accessed. So I think those are the two capacity gap and needs that broadly relates to Liberia. Thank you.
That's good. Maybe just one more, then we'll just wrap up with some closing thoughts. I see at the back, yeah. Yeah, I think it's your choice.
Good afternoon. My name is Maureen from Kenya, and I think my point was on data and monitoring, but that with respect to access and use. A lot of climate data, a lot of information is sitting on shelves of many of our parastatals or research institutions that is not put in a specific repository that is accessible to all to be able to just translate them in the way that they want to use it. So I think that is the gap and the capacity in, that I would say is in my mind when it comes to Kenya.
Yeah, definitely on the sort of data gap. So I know we're running out of time, but I think we can sort of wrap this up in terms of just key points. Definitely, I think we can see that we reiterate that there are the existing gaps, which through the fellowship, we are making progress in terms of within our small countries, our SIDS and our least developing countries. And that is why we sort of reiterated the call for sort of greater support for the fellowship, because we want to ensure that other mid-career professionals can have this opportunity. And like one of my fellows mentioned, the need to build that sort of national pool of experts who can actually have an impact within our country. So definitely, I think that's sort of our, again, I'm putting on my teacher hat, sort of our homework going forward, and to see how within our respective countries, how within our respective engagement, that we can continue to push, whether it be from parties and others, to sort of greater support for initiatives like this, as it provides a direct opportunity where not only our countries benefit, but also the Secretariat benefit. And that sort of two-way is sort of the sort of recipe, perfect recipe for overall capacity development. So I will stop here. I've added a few steps to my list, but definitely hand over to...
Thank you, Giovanni, for this very engaging conversation, and thank you all for providing us with your insights on capacity gaps and needs. So before closing the event, I would like to invite David again for his closing remarks.
Okay, I don't think the event really needs closing remarks because you have heard from all the fellows here, and I think it's also for me was extremely amazing to hear what all of you have done. First of all, I think what's important to say, I think this program is crucial to break the barriers that are really, the UN can be kind of a closed shop. It requires a certain amount of skills, certain skill set, that's sometimes not easy to access. So I feel like it's an amazing way of breaking the barriers. Second, I want to pick up on something that Luisa said, that's like learning from each other, right? We learn as much from you guys as you learn from us. So hopefully it's at least a little bit equal. But also, I think if we are talking about how the Secretariat is doing this, I mean, you guys were crucial in implementing our activities, right? It is not just an additional help that is nice to have. A lot of you have been filling the really needs in the Secretariat to get the work done in a professional manner, in a qualitative manner. Like I know what you did, Yasa, and I also know, I'm sorry, I'm not fully aware of all of your work, but I know that Janice filled in the Just Transition Work Program, basically handling it together with Ventura by herself. I don't know who would have written last year's report if Steph wouldn't have been there, right? These kind of things are just also something that's the reality now with the kind of situation, also the additional mandates that we get. It's just also for us, it's a learning experience, but you are also really needed for us to deliver like high quality outputs. I hope this will also be like, we'll come also back to you for help in the future. Like all of you who are going back home, you're now part of an alumni network, right? So we'll come back, call your help for something. Next COP, we're going to call you if we need a minister for something. So think of us, and I hope you'll help us along the way. I also want to thank Italy again for making this possible, but also to say that the need and demand for this fellowship by far exceeds what we can currently provide, right? I see that there is interest from a certain amount of countries to support us, but if you know somebody who can help fund this and expand this, you have heard these amazing stories. I think every single euro is going into a very good direction, and it actively capacitates SIDS and LDCs in fighting climate change. So please, if you know anyone, let us know. Yeah, when you're going back to your country delegations, those who are returning as negotiators, be nice to us in the future. And with that, thanks, and back to you, Steph.
So thank you very much, David. So before we officially close, I would like to invite all the fellows on stage, along with the supervisors, for a group photo. Please. And also, just in case you have further questions, so you will find information about the capacity building division, where you can forward all your questions and emails about the fellowship. So feel free. Maybe put this back on? Okay.
So once again, thank you everyone for coming today.